Hello YouTube, this is Joseph, and I'm finally bringing you my Sliver Overlord deck. This is a Sliver deck that I built by buying my friend's old Sliver deck that he originally bought from me, and it's kind of how it went through a whole bunch of hands before it came to this point. It's kind of exciting for me to finally make this into a commander deck instead of like a modern kind of deck, so we'll see how it all goes. I'm going to show you the cards one at a time, but Sliver Overlord is good because he can tutor out whatever Sliver you need. I'm running Gale Rider Sliver to have flying. Striking Sliver gives first strike. This other Sliver gives Poisonous 1, which is basically infect. All Slivers get vigilance and haste, death touch, flash. These two Slivers can tap for any color, make all other Slivers tap for any color. So they basically become Birds of Paradise. This one gives all my Slivers Shroud. Hibernation Sliver is there as just kind of a way to protect your stuff as well. I mean, you can pay 2 life, return this any creature to your hand. Also works well if you have any enter the battlefield abilities. Ghost Flame Sliver is kind of here as a combo piece, making all your Slivers colorless and then playing all his dust to make your opponent sacrifice all colored permanents. Meanwhile, you have everything still there. Dark Heart Sliver, this is the one where, you know, if your opponent wipes the board, you can at least sacrifice all your Slivers to gain some life and get some benefit, or if they try to exile your Slivers, or whatever the case may be, it gives a little bit of an out and some utility. Mirror Identity is now one of my main win conditions. You know, when you have like 10 Slivers on the field and you just say, oh, I'm going to pay 10 mana to make them all 10/10s, plus there are other benefits they give each other, you can just win the game. It's a really good combo. And he has Chain Link, so he can also be considered a Sliver and get all the other benefits. Homing Sliver is kind of just another way of tutoring through and finding the Slivers you need. Symptom Sliver gives all your Slivers lifelink. Bastal Sliver, another sacrifice outlet and can kind of ramp you. Horn Sliver gives trample. Opaline Sliver makes it so that any Sliver becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls. Well, I guess a spell, not an ability, but a spell. Then you may draw a card. Necrotic Sliver, again, sacrifice to destroy permanents. And this one's very essential for the deck because, you know, again, when the board wipe happens, you can just flip a coin for every Sliver and 50% of your Slivers statistically should survive and live it. And now giving all your Slivers haste. Making all your Slivers into kind of like Reclamation Sage, is destroy your target artifact or enchantment. It's like a disenchant for all your Slivers. Root Sliver makes it so Slivers can't be countered. Sliver Overlord makes all your Slivers have indestructible. Sliver Legion now is another big win condition. You know, if you have 5 or 6 Slivers in the field and you cast this, they all get really big and can just win you the game. So now this one's really good because it has Chain Link, it becomes into a Sliver, and you can make another creature become a Sliver, even your opponent's creatures, and gain control of them with the Sliver Overlord. And Sliver Overlord doesn't give it back to them at the end of the upkeep, at the end of the turn, so you just permanently get it. So you can start stealing all your opponent's stuff using this guy. Mentor of the Meek, because most of my Slivers are less than 2 power, and you'll notice that I'm not running Muscle Sliver or some of those other ones, specifically for this card and Skull Clamp, so that I can get maximum benefit from my Slivers to draw more cards. And then Eternal Witness, the card just to get things back from your discard pile. I chose to only run one of each of the key Slivers so that I'm not being redundant. Like Winged Sliver, for example, you could add to have a second flying ability, but I feel as if it's kind of useless if you already have Gale Rider Sliver on the field. Like, you don't want to have duplicate copies of those sort of things. So those are the creatures. So now I have I'm only running 8 kind of spot removal protection spells. So I have Crow's Grip, Swan Song, Counterspell, Rewind, Plasm Capture. Now Rewind and Plasm Capture are mostly there so that you can counter your opponent's thing or protect your game-winning combo and then have some benefit you get from it. So it kind of ramps you and protects you at the same time. Cyclonic Rift, one of the best board wipes. Austere Command. Most of my creatures are less than 4 converted mana cost. I was very careful in choosing which cards I picked for the deck. So I usually will save converted mana cost 4 or greater, destroy all my opponent's stuff, and then you can destroy all artifacts or enchantments. And then all is dust to combo off with Ghost Flame Sliver, making your opponents sacrifice all their colored permanents. Next batch of cards is Accelerant Spell, so things will just kind of help us cast what we want. So I'm running Soul Ring, Training Grounds. This makes Sliver Overlord's abilities originally cost 3 to use. This reduces them by 2, so it makes your tutoring for slivers you need very effective. Burgeoning. It's a 5-color sliver deck, and obviously, so whenever you have an opportunity to play numerous lands in a turn, it really helps your situation. Feldwar Stone. You know, you're running all 5 colors, so chances are you're going to have the same color your opponent runs. Very good. Cryptolith Rite. Creatures you control can be tapped to add a mana of any color. This kind of acts as another Gemhide Sliver, Mana Weft Sliver kind of thing, where it makes all your slivers into mana rocks. Commander Sphere, good just because you can sack it to draw a card. It kind of fills 2 positions for the deck. Chromatic Lantern, perfect color fixing. Chromota's Reach and Cultivator are my 2 favorites. You'll see them in most of my decks. They can just search out for whatever color you need. And then Shard Convergence. This one's a special because it lets you search for plains, an island, a swamp card, and a mountain card. And that means that you can basically search out for 4 shock lands and have your next handful of turns have consistent land drops. And it also works very well with Burgeoning if you also have Burgeoning out to play numerous lands a turn. So next we have our card draws. We have Skull Clamp, Miri's Guile. This filters your card draw. It just makes everything more efficient. Rhystic Study, Painful Truth. This one's really good for Converge because you pay 3 mana, draw 3 cards, lose 3 life. Factor Fiction and Ancient's Excavation. You don't mind if you put cards in your discard pile because you can bring them back with another card coming up. Bring to Light. This one lets you basically tutor for anything in your deck. You can search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery and put it straight onto the battlefield. We have Unnatural Selection. So you can choose a creature type other than wall, and then target creature becomes that type. And like I mentioned before with Sliver Overlord, this makes it so that you can steal your opponent's stuff and it permanently becomes yours. Descendant's Path. At the beginning of upkeep, you can reveal the top card of your library, and if you have a creature that shares a creature type, which we will because we're running slivers, you can put it into play. But either way, it basically draws you a card. And then Patriarch's Bidding. You choose a creature type, and then every creature of that chosen type comes back onto the battlefield. This helps every player, but typically we're going to be running the most slivers, and everyone else might run a tribal deck, so it should work out in our favor. And then Asceticism, and this protects our spells, and we can regenerate our creatures. So the next big section we have is land base. So I'm running a total of 1 plains, 2 island, 2 swamp, 1 mountain, and 3 forest. I like to have a total of 9 to 10 basics in almost any EDH deck. So I'm running a total of 5 Pain Lands. The reason I'm running Pain Lands is they can come into play untapped, which is very important for 5-color decks. You don't lose momentum. I'm running all 10 Shock Lands. Hallowed Fountain, Godless Shrine, Watery Grave, Steam Vents, Sacred Foundry, Stomping Ground, Blood Crypt, Overgrown Tomb, and Temple Garden. Breeding Pool. The reason I'm running all 10 shocks is that I can search for them with various fetch lands. So I'm running the 5 budget fetch lands: Floodplain, Bad River, Rocky Tar Pit, Mountain Valley, and Grasslands. Flooded Strand, Polluted Delta, Bloodstained Mire, Wooded Foothills, and Windswept Heath. And finally, I'm running 3 lands that tap for any color. So Exotic Orchard, Reflecting Pool, Ancient Ziggurat, and Command Tower. So those are all the lands I'm running in my deck. Anyways, thanks for watching this deck tech video on Sliver Overlord. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave comments in the comment section below. Love new subscribers. And as I mentioned before, I'm running only 97 cards, so I'm looking for 3 more cards to add into the deck. Sliver Queen would be a really good one to add into the deck, and I was thinking about Aluren and Cloudstone Curio, but I would love to hear your feedback. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good week.